take a look at this invoice, and this is the point I want to make that people don't always believe. I've got the setup there of 150, and I've got the pieces, the hits at $6 each, and at the end of the day after taxes, a $700 invoice. So this is taking the Permaboss laser, and what we're doing on the bottom, the large picture with 1041, is that's a traditional plotter laser, and it is going that speed. I don't like when you go into these videos on the web and they show these plotter lasers and they've sped it up, and it's not the truth. They make it look fast, but it's misleading because this is the speed it's going to run. Now granted, I could speed this up quicker, but the problem is on this particular job, the customer has approved a certain type of dark on the wood, and I've got to match that. So you've got to get the right setting, and when you're using a laser, you've got to use what you have. So in this case, it's a 30-watt laser with a universal tube. On the Permaboss laser, it happens to be a 50-watt, but it is what it is because many people do have something like that. At the end of the day, you need a certain darkness, and even if you run your plotter, if it's a 30, 40, or 50-watt laser, or 60-watt, whatever, you're going to try and run it at the best speed possible to get the most output. So on the top right hand side in that frame above the iPad clock where you see the 038 going there, that's actually the same live without enhancement speed. So we're barely doing, you know, a half inch of the design so far on the plotter, and I've already got 3 or 4 panels done on the Permaboss NGL laser, and that's the main point I want to illustrate here so that people see what's real. Now the gentleman doing the plotter could actually be a little bit more efficient and use up that space in between and run, but he's got the touch screen on the software there and he knocks it out, and now you see that going. So now I switched it so that you've got the Permaboss laser in the big screen, and you've got the plotter laser in the little one because I want to show the time difference. So we're still originally on the plotter, and I need to stress I maxed out what I could on the plotter because I've got to match the darkness that the customer approved. And it's wood, right? So there's going to be grain in there, and the grain is going to change and create spots of lighter and darker because when you hit a knot in the wood, that's harder than the softer rest of the grain. But you've got to understand that there's basically 30 minutes of one side on the plotter and 18 minutes on the other, and in those 48 minutes I virtually did all 60 pieces on the NGL. At the very beginning I showed you an invoice, so the proof is like right there in front of you that if you want to make in the neighborhood of $600 or more, you need the tools that can do it. Now that's why we have the guarantee that we can make our products profitable in such a short period of time. Our laser isn't that much more expensive than a comparable wattage plotter laser, but it has totally different technology in terms of how it can work. Can we do, you know, 18 inches by 24 inches? No, we can do 14 inches by 14 inches, but we made the laser to work for 90% of the time. Again, not sped up. This time I just moved the plotter to the bottom left corner, and you can see the real life etching of the NGL on the big right hand side of the screen, the one with the 1041 iPad clock in there. And then down at the bottom you've still got that plotter. The same job is still running before, and we're doing the exact same artwork. So that's where the difference is. It's in the fact that I would rather you use our laser a couple hours a day, 4 or 5 times a week, a couple hours a day. I mean ideally 8 hours a day, but it just doesn't always happen until you get the volume higher. And using the laser in an hour or two for one day of the entire month basically pays for the whole laser for the whole month when you lease to own it. That's the big difference. If you have a plotter laser, it's amazing technology, and at the time, you know, it was the only technology until these scanner technologies came out. But you as a business person cannot afford to have overhead, wages, employee, the cost of the machine, and put out, you know, 2 pieces every 48 minutes versus 64 pieces in 1 full hour. And that's the difference. That's why people are extremely successful, and they, you know, the old saying of working smarter, not harder is completely true, because when you have the tools, think of it this way. If you're getting UPS delivery and they come in that big brown truck, that truck is built, purpose built for everything related to delivering the packages. They go to the depot in the morning, they pick up the entire day's worth of deliveries. Let's say there's 80, 100 something deliveries, and they go out and they make those 80, 150 stops. And they open and close the door all those times, they turn all those corners, they press on the brake all that time, they put the transmission in park and drive and reverse 150 times plus in the morning. And then in the afternoon, they have a completely empty truck and they go back, and that whole process for all the pickups is done, goes back to the depot, loaded up. Can you imagine trying to compete with UPS if you have the single best American-made pickup truck in the whole world? It's not going to happen, because that pickup truck can't take the full load in the morning. It cannot go and get that door open and closed 300 times a day without the hinge eventually falling off in X amount of months. The transmission, I mean, that is more abuse than a snowplow driver would with his snowplow. So you need the right tools and the right equipment, and it has to be profitable and it has to be quick. And that's what this video is about, proving once again that making $600 in an hour is not an evil thing, it's not a bad thing. It's what the market is willing to pay for that etching, because on a plotter you cannot charge 45 bucks for that one piece. They're not going to pay that. They need to pay $5 or $6. So that's basically what I want to show you. The wooden piece there behind the red, sorry about that, is basically the jig, just so I can stick in the wood, go, stick it in, go, stick it in, go. I don't have to do anything. On a plotter, you've got that built in as a little ruler. Here we just added it on with a piece of 2-way tape.